Welcome to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast, where we unlock the power within and navigate the journey of your self-discovery together. I'm Shaz, your spiritual mentor and life coach, here to help you tap into your inner guidance system and manifest your best life. Whether you're just beginning your spiritual journey or looking to deepen your practice, this podcast offers insights, techniques, and inspiration to elevate your consciousness and transform your reality. Get ready to shine your light and embrace your true potential. Remember, the answers are inside you. Let me be your guide on earth. Welcome back to the Spiritual Awakening podcast with Shaz. I'm your host, Shaz, and today I have the amazing Melinda Warnecke with us. Melinda is an international speaker and master healer and a business coach. She's known for her deep alignment with the spiritual and strategic aspects of her work. Melinda naturally integrates high-level business tactics with strong focus on energetics and personal transformation, which means she has a unique ability to bridge the gap between the practical and the intuition. I've worked with Melinda. She was a coach of mine for a year during the beautiful Casual Coach creation, and she helped transform my business and grow it to where it is today. And it's been a fantastic foundation for who I am. I find myself very aligned with her energy and vibration because she taught me so much about authenticity and congruency, and it's a major factor in my life of walking the talk, saying what you do, and being exactly who you are. So some of the stuff that I really value with Melinda is that she's a straight shooter, tells it how it is, and is very direct, and I love that personally. And also, she has an open mind and is willing to test and try new things, but has this nurturing, loving mother's heart that you can go to her whenever you feel down, and she'll always make you feel inspired. And I admire that greatly. Part of the reason why we've invited her on is, as throughout my coaching journey with her, I learned so many great things, and she held me accountable to a lot of things. And later, in the latter part of this year, she went and did an amazing spiritual upgrade by climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And I want to share that journey with you today. It fascinates me. I've heard some of the snippets from it, but I'm really excited to share with you all her insights, learnings, and growth from that experience. So welcome, Melinda. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. It's beautiful to be here, Shaz. Appreciate that gorgeous intro.
You're welcome. And I mean every word of it, because literally you have changed my life. I have half a dozen mentors that have made a big impact on me, and I rate you up there with the highest of them. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So can you share a little bit about the beginning of your journey? When did you first realize that you're intuitive, and how did that show up in your life? And what does that mean for you in your day-to-day existence?
Oh, what a question. So to answer the first part of the question, I realized I was intuitive so the picture that's coming in my mind right now is I must have been about 13 or 14, somewhere around that, 14 or 15 years of age. And I was lying outside on the trampoline, and I decided to sleep. And anyone who has grown up in country Victoria or Australia, you will know, like, we have very wide open spaces, and we lived out in the country in Dairy Farm. And so I was out on the trampoline and decided to sleep there the night, and on the trampoline, because that's what you did when you're a teenager in Australia. And it was a hot night. It was summer. And I woke up in the morning with the cockatoos flying overhead. And there must have been, I don't know, for my 14-year-old mind, there was thousands, but maybe there was 50. I don't know. I'm not really sure. And something shifted inside of me as I was lying out there. And it was this idea that I had, that I was beginning to realize that if I really deeply thought about something, I was able to make it come true. And it was a really strange experience for me, because with that realization came a lot of fear. a lot of fear about, well, what if I've created this? What if I've created that? But it was like, that was the moment. Like, I remember waking up in the morning and I just realized that all of these thoughts I'd had, all of these imaginations that I'd been dreaming and thinking about over and over and over and over and over again, that I was making them come true. And so it was in that moment that I realized I just thought I was magic. I was a teenager. I just thought, oh, look at this. And I actually assumed that other people could do it as well. So it was a really interesting experience when I found the people around me, my friends, my family, started to look at me differently.
I know that feeling very well. I had similar things. I used to hide my spirituality as a child because it freaked people out from things that I knew. But the magic essence of being that conscious creator is so powerful. And we never really appreciate it until you're an adult.
Yeah. And you try to get into manifestation. It's like, hang on a minute. Didn't I used to do this already? It's so funny. Yeah.
So throughout that event, before that sort of happened, what sort of beliefs were you brought up with? What was the childhood like, and what were the core beliefs of your family?
Wow. So our childhood was colourful, and the earlier years when my parents were still together, we lived in an expatriate type lifestyle in Papua New Guinea. And the beliefs I was brought up with was, you do not speak to your father unless spoken to. You always do as you are told. You definitely don't have opinions. And laughter at the table wasn't allowed, right? Like, interesting. And there was amazing beliefs as well, like, go out, have fun, anything is possible if you can put your mind to it, things like that. Then when my mum and dad separated and we came back to Australia, the beliefs were very much around Christianity and Catholicism. So I had to go to church every Sunday with my gran. Interesting. My mum never took us, right? Because she obviously, like, at the time I had no idea, but she was rejecting it. But like, we had to do that. And I can remember the plate, which of course was like a woven basket of some sort. The gift plate, or whatever they used to call it, would come around, and I used to sit there and look at this bowl of money get passed from hand to hand down the pews, and it would come to us, and we would look at it, and then we would pass it on, because in our family there was nothing spare, right? Like, there was nothing left over, and I'd look at all of this abundance of money and I couldn't have it. Right. So that's an indication of the beliefs that we grew up with. There was never enough. You always had to turn the lights off if you weren't in the room, because, my God, it was going to cost $1 million. Leftovers were in the fridge to the point where potentially, if you didn't have an iron guts, you probably got sick. Like, they were the beliefs that we grew up with.
I've similar background, so I understand that well. Money was tight. I grew up in a single parent family, so it was a struggle. It was hard work. And you were very mindful of the cost of things. And heaven forbid if you wasted anything, that was just a big, big no-no. With one of the aspects of that awakening, that 13, 14-year-old lying on the trampoline, what were the initial signs or experiences that you had that you were this magical being?
So what's coming into my mind, which I haven't thought about for a really long time, is I used to wake up in the middle of the night with something sitting on my bed. And it was very real. Like, it was a heaviness, it was a weight. And it used to scare me so much. Like, it really frightened me. So I don't know why that's coming up for me as you're asking that question, but maybe that was the signs that there was another world outside of what I could see and touch. And it frightened me a lot. So my gifts, as I now realize them to be, did frighten me a lot. I used to be afraid that I would be using them for evil instead of good. I used to be afraid if I thought something bad about somebody, something bad would happen to them and I created it. So there was a lot of guilt that went with the ability to connect with the other world.
And that guilt is a real thing. Like, to discover that you can see something that other people can't see and you don't realize it is a gift at the time. I just thought everyone was like that. It was a normal thing for me to discover they couldn't do that, and then to realize that it freaked them out. So their fear created our fear. And I
Mm,
was always safe with my imaginary friends and the beings from that other side. I shut it down out of politeness because the more
mm,
I talked about it, the more stress it created. And then I get into trouble and get hit, sort of thing. So you
mm,
learn to control it. But one of
mm,
the big things that my hope for this podcast, as well as the other things that I do, is to ease the transition for anyone going through this awakening to trust it
yeah.
and know it is an honor gift. It's a beautiful gift. It is amazing. And you can tap into it anytime you want to. It is something in your control of how you master it. And it is there. Children have access to it all the time. And we shut it down through our own fear. There's nothing to fear. It is always for our well-being, our kindness, and for our greatness and upliftment.
Mm.
So I want to talk to you about Mount Kilimanjaro. Would you consider that experience another episode of The Dark Night of the Soul?
Yes, I would. So a year before I climbed Kilimanjaro, so it was September 2023 or October 2023, somewhere around that time, I was sitting at home on a Friday evening and I was mindlessly scrolling. And I happened to open up my emails, and there was a subject title in the email that was Africa, safari, something, something. And I'm like, oh, all it required was a $500 deposit. And I was sitting there and I was just like, oh, I don't know why, but it was such a strong call, right? Like now, at this point, I don't think I even noticed Mount Kilimanjaro. I just saw Africa, safari. I went back to when I was 14 or 15, and I had this dream to go to an African safari. And I like opened up the email, I read through it. It was like, oh, it was like a 12-day tour that included climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that seems all right. I think I could do that. Buy. And I bought it and I paid the $500 deposit. And about 4 weeks later, I was like, oh, I'm done. That's okay. Breathe, Melinda. Breathe, Melinda. You can do this. So I looked into it and I went, oh, looks like I'm about to climb a mountain. And so then I went on my journey over the 12 months of, you know, time was just coming up slowly and slowly. I'm like, do I need to train? What do I need to do? Oh my God. Right. You know, all the things. And that was gorgeous. And it was everything I needed to arrive in Africa, knowing I was not ready. 100%. I knew I was not ready. And I knew I needed to do it anyway. Right. Like all the things that I teach in my business to my clients, like you gotta just take action. It's okay not to be ready. I'm just taking on all of my advice here. And, and I was so excited, right? So excited. Day one, we're heading off. We met our guides. Our guides were incredible. They were amazing. Every day we were looking at the peak of this mountain, kind of peeking through the clouds. And I remember when we arrived in Tanzania and we all looked out and everybody just went silent. It was like, oh, we had the size of it. It was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, oh my God, what am I doing? And so it kind of began there. And, and day one we started, we were all so excited. Our group, our guides, they sang and welcomed us onto the mountain. And it was just like everything and more than I could have ever dreamed of. And up until day two, I had no idea I was going on a spiritual journey.
Because it's not something you would consider a spiritual journey. It's
No.
an adventure, right?
It's like a battle of physical prowess. All of this stuff, it's like got nothing to do with a spiritual journey. Oh my God. Oh my God.
How big is the mountain?
5,900 meters. It's about 18,000 feet. Aeroplanes fly as high as it.
Beautiful.
Which I didn't know
So,
until I got there. All of the things, right? All the things.
like,
Anyway,
isn't Kosciuszko only about 2,900?
Mount Kosciuszko is 2,000 meters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2,000.
It's like times 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
times 3.
And
It's really high. It's higher than base camp in Nepal.
yeah, that's our measure, right? We know that our country is reasonably flat for the most part. It has hills,
It's the highest
mountains, and stuff like that.
It's the highest freestanding mountain in the world, and it has many, many, many climates and landscapes, and it was gorgeous. Like, I'm an ex not-for-profit executive where we would raise money to protect the land. And so there was so much about this journey that was exquisite for me. But what I didn't realize was where I was going to have to meet myself in order to summit. I didn't realize.
I don't think it is something you can realize until you're in it. And that's the truth of a dark night of the soul or an awakening process, the ascension. You never realize what it is whilst you're in it or when it's coming up for you. It comes in so many different ways. We think it happens through adventure. A lot of people try to tell you that it happens. Oh, we just choose to go through this. No, life throws something at you that you stand up, wake up, and make up, or you die, basically. And it's the making of you. And I love that essence of not knowing it's just an adventure. I don't know how you booked a holiday. I'm going to climb a mountain. I didn't even know I did it.
I wanted to do an African safari. It was a bucket list, right? It's just the mountain climbing happened to be in the same tour, and you couldn't do one without the other. Like, it came together. And I'm like, I could hike, I can walk. I love walking, right? Yeah. Anyway, it was day 2. Day 2 was the day where we found out later on, usually if people aren't going to make it, they begin to drop off at about day 2. So day 2, we climbed nearly 2,000 meters in elevation, and it was a 13-hour day. And my body, it's not the climbing that's hard, it's the lack of oxygen in the air. And so my body started to shut down. So by day 3, my digestive system decided no. And anything that hit it came back out. And so all I could stomach was cucumber soup.
Wow.
Which is not really enough nourishment to sustain this type of activity that your body needs to go through. And, there were so many things. that I came up against again and again and again. Like one day, it was such a long day, I think because I was so slow. But anyway, whatever, I don't care. It was such a long day that the last 2 hours of climbing was by night to get to our camp. And it's like, if anyone's done night hiking, it's a totally different experience. And it's like you're hallucinating. And I think I might have been, actually, to be really honest. Like, I was exhausted. I was done. Just putting one foot in front of the other, like, took more than the energy that I had. And it was about day 4 that I started to realize something was happening. Before I arrived in Africa, I set an intention for my trip to find out what I was made of. And I've got shivers as I say this, because I didn't want to tell anybody my intention in case it came true. Right? Like, oh my God, it's like, I don't want to tell anyone that maybe I believe in ghosts, because what if they're real, kind of thing. And that started to really prey on my mind. I started to go through the mental process of putting the success of summiting, or even bloody making it, never mind summiting, just not getting helicopter medevaced out is the goal. Don't get medevaced out. Like, that's the goal. I started to put outside of me control, right? Like, I started to find myself saying things to myself like, well, if the mountain wants me to summit, she will let me just keep going, Melinda, and that made a lot of sense to me for a lot of the beliefs I had held up until that point. Other things like, this is a bit strange, but I'm going to say it. The goodness of the heart of everybody in the group would be what would carry us forward, right? Like it was just all of these things started to come in, and I started to put my attention and focus into it. And it was probably day 5 or day 6 that it hit me, and it hit me really, really hard. And this was the dark night of the soul, right? Like I was making everything outside of me responsible for whether I was going to make it or not. I was allowing everything outside of me I was putting all of my personal power into everything outside of me. And I was giving it, thinking that something outside of me would allow me to summit or not summit. And we talked about this. I woke up one morning in the tent because you don't sleep really. Your heart rate's not getting down under 100 because it's working so hard to push the oxygen through the body. And I think my heart rate when I went to bed was about 120 at resting. Like there's no resting at that sort of like it's like, what am I doing? And I woke up, it was about 3:30 in the morning. And I just realized I wasn't using any of my tools. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I realized I wasn't using my tools. And I started doing this particular energy codes breathing. It's a particular process. It's called the 1,000 Straws breath for anybody that knows Dr. Sue Mortar's energy codes work. But I started doing this particular breathing technique because it would draw the energy from life outside of me into my energy field so that my field would begin to then recalibrate things within, so it would come from outside into the physical body, right? And this is where I was at. I was deep in I was in my bubble of life. And I was doing this breathing, and it's a beautiful, really powerful process. And my heart, right, like this. And everything just stopped around me. Everything just stopped. Everything went deathly silent, except for the snoring person in the tent next door, right? Everything was really, really quiet, and including my heart. And I was like, it's going on. And then it just like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, wow, right? Like my heart recalibrated to what it needed to do to keep the body alive at the altitude we were at. And I just cannot tell you the depth of wonderment that I had for our body, but more than that, for my spirit. Mm-hmm. Because in that moment, I realized I'd been giving control to everything outside of me, and all I needed was what was already inside of me. Like, and everything changed. I actually could stomach solid food again. Like my body recalibrated itself. And so from that moment on, it became, I just want to get to the top. Yeah.
Feel that like it's amazing energy that I could feel in my body from it. I've not experienced anything like it, and sorry to say, I don't want to. I'm not that fit. I don't aspire to climb any high mountains at all. Kosciuszko, I don't even want to climb that. But the experience of it, that depth, I understand the depth of despair and this essence inside of you, our spirit, our higher self, our soul, whatever name we want to label it, does not quit on us. I get full body tingles when I think of it because I've been at that depth of despair, and this essence inside of me will say that you're strong. Now, strong for me for a long time was a 4-letter word, and I didn't want to hear it. I was tired of being strong. I was over being strong. But this essence of you can do it, like you will get through this. We will conquer this mountain, whatever that mountain looks like. is a powerful force. And
Mm.
that's the essence of what I call the life force within us. It doesn't know how to quit.
Yeah.
Even when faced with the greatest adversity, it won't quit on us. Our mind will quit first. So to
Yes.
discover that and to go, hang on a minute, like I am this powerful being. I am the master magician of my reality. I can take on and control the elements, pull the energy from the earth, feel the power that lies within this human body,
Mm.
this essence given by God. I love it. It just
Mm.
brings you so much closer to the purity of the soul's power,
Yeah. Yeah.
the survivability that we have, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Like,
so many people that have overcome things that you would never think they could.
yeah. And without a doubt, every single listener to your podcast has probably lived through things that most people would never want to.
Absolutely.
And I totally know that. Like, I know that anyone on this journey, you know, then, yeah, we've had to live through things that we wouldn't want to have to live through. And this was an interesting journey, the Kilimanjaro climb, because it's, I chose it. I chose it. I decided I wanted to climb a 5,900 meter mountain, totally unprepared, nowhere near fit enough at all. No idea what I was in for. All I knew was I had most of the right gear. Right, like that's all I knew. And I chose it. And every single day that I got up, and every step in front of every other step was an active decision. I am walking towards incredible levels of pain, mental anguish, so much like lack of control. So I had to, and I'm walking towards it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And you're lucky that you're up there and there's no Wi-Fi, there's no electricity, everything's off the grid, everything. So you stop eating meat in about day 3. You're like, hey, there are all of these things. But the moment that I put my foot over the top onto the summit, like I couldn't breathe. I think we're at 30% oxygen, so breathing sounds like like that's what breathing. There's no speaking. There's no speaking. But watching the sunrise, watching the sun come up over Africa at something like 5:30 in the morning, and there's just nothing on this planet that I've ever experienced that has made every cell in my body vibrate with just this. We live on this planet. This is what we get to experience, and we get to see it and feel it. And you got to go through a bit of shit to get there. I think you just kind of have to, right? It's it was really beautiful. And coming down off the mountain, I think for about 2 weeks, I was like, I have no idea why I did that. I would never do that again. And right now I'm like, I'm planning my next one. Yeah.
And that's the funny part about it is that we all say that we'll never do it again. And pretty much ask any mother that goes through childbirth, I'm never doing that again. And 5 minutes later, holding a baby, can I have another one? I want to do it again. Come on, bring it on. Like,
What?
easy. And it gives you a whole new appreciation into extreme sports people,
Yeah.
what motivators are, the drive. I'm not a sports person in any way, shape, or form, but to watch someone, an athlete, like if you've ever watched a video of Kobe Bryant when he trains, what he'll push his body to, you talk to a marathon runner, you get to a point in the race where your body wants to quit, everything wants to give up, and you just push through, and the spirit inside of you keeps going one more step, and this overdrive comes and it takes over everything. And that's the essence of what I believe that semi-dark night of the soul experience is, the overdrive of your spirit, your soul, your higher self, the essence of who you are, standing up and saying, no, we've got this. Whatever we're going to do, we will get through this because we won't quit. And I love that. powerful aspect. Besides the breath work and things like that, what other major tools helped you keep your mind sane? Because oxygen depletion, you hallucinate, as you said. How'd you not go crazy?
I don't know. Maybe if you ask the people I was with, they might say I was. No, I wasn't. I I every moment that I was on that mountain, seeing what I was seeing, experiencing what I was experiencing, feeling what I was feeling, every moment was a joy. Like it was blissful. And it's so interesting because I don't know if I would have known it to be that way 20 or 30 years ago. I think I needed to be where I am now in order to really like, not just because it's even deeper than appreciation. I don't know what the word is. It's a feeling. And, you know, the breath work was very powerful, I must admit. I did a lot of breath work because when you're not walking, you're lying in your tent going, "Ah." Or you're in the mess tent with everyone trying to stomach food, and you know you're getting a little bit sick of the sludge day after day after day, but you know it's all good. Um, what was it? I think it was the beauty. I really do think it was the beauty of just everybody was on their own journey. We're in a group of 10 Australians, and there was 20 odd team members of the crew because it's off the grid. So they've got to take tents and mess tents and they carry it all on their head. And here we are with a backpack going, oh, and they're running up the mountain, right? Like they're mountain goats. I tell you what, right? They live and breathe low oxygen. It's normal. And they just think it's quite cute that we can't. But yeah, it was definitely, I think, the beauty of everything around me, what was going on inside of my mind. The big thing for me was when I realized I needed to stop giving away my personal power to everything outside of me if I wanted to get off this mountain alive. And it was probably, I can remember the landscape we were walking on, and I was looking up at the summit and realized that I was giving away my power, and that if I wanted to summit, it had nothing to do with anything outside of me, and it had everything to do with me. And I was the one that needed to make the decision, am I going to summit or not? I was the one that needed to decide, am I going to give in to the pain? Am I going to give in to the fear of what if I get medevaced out? Am I going to give in to all of that, or am I going to choose to summit? And I realized I kind of had a flash in a way. If you have a flash that took like an hour, the flash was like an hour of all the different moments, not just in my past, but in my current life, where I was I was surrendering control to things outside of me. Like, will clients sign up? Well, it'll depend on the algorithm, like all of these things. And it was like an all of everything awakening for me in my realization that I had to totally let go of control, of being in control of whether I was going to make it or not, in order for me to then realize that by letting go of control, I had total control. The only way to have total control was to surrender total control. And I've mentioned this to a few people since my climb, and most people's faces go, huh? And it's like there's something, it's an inside thing. And those of you that are listening to this that know, right? To have total control of this existence, I have to surrender everything and let go of the need to control. And for many women who have been brought up in single parent families, who have had to do everything, be both mother and father, and child that supports the mother because she doesn't have a partner, and we've had to be everything. My whole life was about control.
And that art of surrender is massive. I did it a few years ago once. I lost my old business and finally just literally threw up my hands in despair and said, that's it. I fucked up this life enough. You tell me what to do. If you don't tell me what to do, I ain't doing it. And I surrendered to source, God, higher self, whatever essence of it. And I followed that guidance and it's bliss. Like, I stopped trying to overthink things. If it doesn't flow, if it doesn't come to me, I don't search for things. It comes to me. Everything I need flows towards me like a fast moving river. Yes, I wish it was faster at times, but it's at a pace that I can cope with because otherwise it's going to create overwhelm. We all want everything now, and I'm impatient. I own that. But at the same time, you can only take on what you can take on. So
Yeah.
the whole journey of it is fantastic.
Yeah.
Out of your group of 10 people that went, did everyone make it?
Yeah, we did. Every single person in our group summited. Now, there was another Australian group that left the day before us, I think, and we met them at what's called base camp. And I think they had 10 or 12 in their group. Only 3 made it.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
It's not uncommon. So the statistics in Kilimanjaro, all the tour companies would tell you 90% make it if you do the Machamo route or whatever it is, right? And no, it's not true. I'd say about 42% of people summit. And
I was
if
thinking
you're feeling that, they probably would go.
45 people would summon out of the group. That's why I said, did everyone make it?
All of us summited, and I'd put it down to our head tour guide, David, was magic on legs, that man.
Oh, wow.
Like he was phenomenal. He really truly was. He would check in with me every morning and night. You had to do these health checks and you had to rate yourself out of a scale of 1 to 10 on specific questions. You had to check the oxygen in your blood and all sorts of things. Like it's a pretty rigid process. And so for my few days where I was dying inside of my soul, my ratings were not good. Like, how are you feeling? Scale of 1 to 10, 0. How's your nausea? 10. Are you sleeping? No. Like it was, it's quite interesting. I've got the sheet. You can see my journey, right? It was like up and then it went like that. But no, we all summited and it was amazing. Everybody was amazing. And, it's powerful to do it in a group. It reminds me of the power of community. We often feel like we're alone on our journey, and that's a choice as well. It's a choice to be alone.
So if you had to pick one big lesson out of this whole journey, what would you consider it was?
Oh, can I have 2?
Yeah.
So coming down, when we were descending, the big epiphany that hit me like a water wall, because I cried realized I cried a lot the last couple of days, just like, anyway, the big epiphany was that I couldn't trust my body, that my body, i.e. the vessel that my soul communicates to me through, that I can trust it. And that was huge. Like, it was such a deep level of trust. Now, at the time, it was my body. In hindsight, it's my soul, right? Like it's the spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call it, that I can trust its guidance. It is there and it will never leave me. Like, we are, we're like this, right? Yeah. So that was a huge lesson in the sense of an awakening for me, a deeper awakening. Because, like I was already there, but this is like a whole different level. And then the other lesson would have been the surrender and control, that the true gift in life is to let go of total control so that you actually then realize you have all the control you need to do whatever you choose. Mm.
I love that. It's really quite amazing. Has the view of yourself changed or shifted since that experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has.
How?
Yeah, it has. It's shifted in the sense of I feel softer. I have always known deep down that I don't, and I'm not, I'm going to say it the way it is for me, even though it may sound arrogant. Please know it's not, but whatever. Um, I've always known that if I really want something, I can get it. Now, my language used to be I can get it. Now it's like if I really want something, it's mine to choose. It's a difference. And in that shift, there's a softness in the choosing. It's like, is this choosing good for me? Is it good for my family? Is it good for the community? Is it good for the planet? Like there's a difference in the choosing. So my early awakening when I was, young, my choosing wasn't always so soft. I just took what I wanted in my manifestation ability, right? Um, and I don't say that with anything other than that was just the fact. Like that was my journey to realize the power of what I had. I just did. I still used it for good as well. I definitely used it for good. But there was a part of me that just always knew that if I really wanted something, I could just have it. And I just needed to do whatever I needed to do, whatever that was. So now the change in me is it's a softness, but it's also feel a little bit whole. I feel a bit complete.
I love that. It's like finding missing parts of yourself and discovering depths that you hadn't connected with for a long time. They've always been there, but the awareness hasn't been. So,
Yeah.
what new practices or beliefs have become central in your life after this experience? Are there any
Yeah.
major upgrades?
Yeah, there's been major upgrades. The major upgrades have been in my body.
Mm-hmm.
I have, like, I just honor this vessel in a way I never did. I appreciated my body. I looked after it, but I now realize I didn't. So major upgrades in the way I look after the vessel that gets to, allow the spirit to experience itself on this plane in a way. Nature has always been my peaceful place, but now nature feels like a partner. Yeah, it definitely does. Like I can sit in meditation in a way now that I never used to be able to. Like I can connect and feel what I need. And then of course the energy codes work. So I came back from Kilimanjaro and passed my facilitator's exam with flying colors because I'd used it to actually like summit, right? Like it wasn't just, hey, this is the theory. It's like, this is what it felt like. I did this, I did this, yeah. And that's been profound, right? Like really sitting in with my energy field in a way that I've never experienced before.
I love that. That's just amazing. And I've been learning a lot these past 3 months with my own studies through this diploma and to utilize it. Like, I know this works because this is what I got out of it when I did it for myself. That's a whole different level of feeling.
Yeah.
And just practicing and saying things that, like, it moves you in different ways. One of my areas of being congruent in life is I won't use a tool on someone I haven't used on myself. I won't recommend a type of work that I don't know whether it works or not because I haven't tried it or tested it for myself. And then I do many tests on other people. And I love that essence of, yes, I know this works and I know I can do it because I used it and it saved my life or it did this aspect for me. So one, congratulations on that. I know how important it is for you.
Thank you.
And two, I'd love that authenticity. You are the similar, that where you test things and we make sure they work before we guarantee to others. There are too many people, for my mind, out there that will tell you they can make this promise and that promise and do this, and they've never done it. And I just can't deal. But anyway.
Yeah. You know, we're the same like that. We're the same like that. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone going through a spiritual awakening or the dark night of the soul, feeling that they're lost or not sure what steps to take next?
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Advice. Trust is a really interesting word. Trust is a really interesting word. And I feel like when we learn how to embody the frequency of trust, we're illuminated from the inside out. The dark night of the soul is complete. And so the advice would be to get really curious about where you can find areas and ways to trust yourself more. So seek out different activities where you can learn to trust yourself more, where you can embody and practice. Oh, I've done this now so many times. I trust I can do that. I trust I will follow through, because the dark night of the soul is a mind game. It's like the death of the ego to a degree, maybe. You know, like there's more than one person inside of you. We all know that, you know, the you. So for me, the me version of me, like, I've got to know what I want. I've got to know where I'm going. I've got to have a level of direction, and I need to trust that I'm going to take each step in front of the other to get there. And that there's going to be lots of things that come in along the journey that are going to try to take you off course, and you've got to stay on course, right? Like, you've got to keep your true north, whatever that is. So trust in your intuition of where you're going.
I love that. If you could go back to the pre-awakened version of you, or the younger Melinda who wasn't as connected, wasn't following the full gifts that you've had, what advice would you give yourself?
Give up your addictions earlier. So I used substances, cigarettes, alcohol, other things, to suppress all of the stuff, because I didn't know how to process it. Also, I didn't, you know, I wanted to quieten the thoughts and the intuition that was there. I didn't, you know, it wasn't just emotional suppression. There was also, I would like my gifts to please just like be drowned in wine would be great. So the advice I would give my earlier self is, oh God, just how do I put this? Addictions of whatever sort, whether it's alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, whatever it is. When we are in that space, we think that the best high we can get is that high, right? Like, it's like, oh, because this feels so much better than without it, because it feels so bad without it. When you are totally clean, the levels of bliss that you can experience surpass anything any substance can create on this planet. So I don't even know where I'm going with this, but if I was giving myself advice, it would be, you might think this is good. You've got no freaking idea how good it could really be.
And it's true, because addictions come in many forms. It can be alcohol, drugs, there's gambling, there's food, there's relationship patterns, there's toxicity in whatever ways. Then there's the extremities. There's all sorts of aspects that it can show up with. And it's all because we are searching for some level of bliss. And I believe heart whole that true bliss comes from connection deep to self, alignment with your higher self, and knowing the soul is in control, in the driver's seat of creating life to be the magic it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's why the art of surrender is so powerful for me.
Yeah.
And in it's not giving away your power, it's reclaiming it,
Yeah.
because it's reclaiming it from the position of what is meant for you will come rather than force. And we try to force too many things. So
Yeah, because we have the desire for things, but if we don't know, many humans, they want to know the how. But how do I get that? How do I get that? And the advice is actually drop the how. Just who do you need to be? Like, and this, Shaz, the bliss that you can experience when you surrender, it's like the cells in your body are vibrating with light, like that. Oh my God. Like, and we get to recreate that anytime we choose and live and connect and be incredible humans on this planet. It's like, why would we not be here?
So, what practices, books, or resources would you recommend someone starting on their journey?
Starting on their journey.
Starting in the middle. What are your favorite books or resources or life game changers?
I'm looking over here at my bookshelf. I absolutely adored The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. That's been one I read that a couple of years ago, and it was beautiful in teaching me to slow down and like go down in behind my eyes and look out at it was really beautiful. That's what I took from it. My first books, I've got here, The Untethered Soul, Michael Singer. Not that I prepared it earlier, it's literally on my bookshelf. My earlier books were the whole Carlos Castaneda series. Anyone who knows that, they will know. This was a anthropologist in America who went down and spent time with the Yaqui Indians. So it's all about sorcery, and it's all about integrity. It's all about living your truth, personal power. Like, I read them in my 20s, right? I read them in my late teens and my early 20s, the whole series. And this is the truth is I've been on the spiritual journey for a really long time. Autobiography of a Yogi, one of the best books I could recommend for anybody who's really wanting to go into themselves and believe in the magic. So I think, like, when I look at all of the books that have had a profound impact for me, it's about making it okay to believe in the magic. Like we talked about earlier, it was suppressed by people around us. And so really claiming and stepping back into the magic of what we can create and experience and live and love with is a really powerful tool. And so definitely that. Autobiography of a Yogi. I loved Joe Dispenza's stuff. That's probably the last few years. James Redfield, The Celestine Prophecy, so good, so good. But for those starting out, probably, the energy codes I would be recommending to anybody who's not starting out.
Yeah.
So the energy codes is interesting for me in the sense of it came into my world after I'd done a lot of personal development, right? And I think we need to understand the mind before we can then, this is just my opinion at this point in this date in time, totally open for the fact that it may change, that I personally needed to understand how my mind worked before I could then allow myself to feel my heart, my spirit, and all of those things. And so, yeah.
Beautiful. And what's your vision for the future now that you've come through this journey?
I'm sitting in that right now as I prepare for the next phase so the next half of this decade, right? So I am moving towards doing like 5-year goals rather than let's just do a 2025 goal. So it's like the next half of this decade. I used to want, when I was younger, I wanted to be a vet. And I do believe that I have a connection with animals. And sometimes. Like, I mean, I know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I just do. And that's totally okay. I used to want to be a vet when I was younger. And it's because I had lost faith in humans. And then when I went through my fundraising corporate career, I raised money for everything except for humans. Right. And I was very, very good at it. Very good at it. And then when I moved into coaching and allowed myself to open my heart again and really feel, I now really understand the value of when humans heal, the planet heals. And the planet, by the way, ain't going anywhere. Like, we're going to be way gone before it is, right? So it's kind of like the vision is to help heal the planet, but it's by doing it one life at a time. And that's been my vision in my coaching business for a number of years. And it's beginning to evolve now with, well, how many lives do I want to help reach? And so I'm starting to play with those numbers, and numbers that scare me, numbers that allow me to stretch myself and continue to evolve.
Yeah. I love that. I'm very similar. Like, I'm want to heal the planet one person at a time. So I have a core belief that if I can impart light, wisdom, knowledge, healing, whatever it may be to you, and then you can impart it to someone else, and they can impart it to someone else, and together we can change the world. Because it only takes, I love that meme, right? Where
Yeah.
all darkness, darkness, one person of light hugs the front and then the light spreads. And that's humanity for me. Okay. I want to awaken, I want to enlighten, I want to uplift and connect one person at a time to their higher self, their intuition, the power that lies within our soul. And then one becomes two, and two becomes four, and so forth. And then if you
Exactly.
expand that, then we hit the 8 billion people on the planet. We
Yeah.
have amazing capacity of wisdom, courage, knowledge. Everything's inside of us. The essence, the answers lie within. And too many of us look outside of us, and I want to change that. And I love that mission's a
I
thing.
love that. That's beautiful, Shaz. I love that.
Thanks, honey. So, what does the spiritual awakening mean to you now?
Probably responsibility. Yeah. Um, Thank you for the question. Until this moment, I didn't realize it. Yeah, responsibility. So a deeper level of responsibility. And for me, responsibility is if you have the ability to respond, you've got responsibility. I have the ability to respond now to things that I didn't earlier. And so I must, right? Like it's no more hiding. Like it's just the hiding times are over.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I love that because I do a lot of work in spiritual circles and I go to spiritual church. And one of the core foundational aspects of the seven something of spiritualism will come to me is personal responsibility.
Mhm.
You are responsible for your actions, your action responses, everything like that, and everything happens through you.
Yeah.
We don't always like what comes at us or the lessons in life, but we do create them and we
Mhm.
take responsibility of them. They are the art and essence of who we are. And like life doesn't happen to me, it happens through me. I create, I master, I learn, I grow, I evolve. And that's part of the essence I want to teach people. And I love that you see that too, because it's a very, very powerful thing. Do you have a mantra, affirmation, or a belief that you live by today? A cool.
So not that I live by, but they change and evolve.
Yep.
So right now, it's basically I'm unstoppable.
Yep.
I'm a magnet for success, and I am limitless possibility. And these are the three things that. So I say it over and over and over until I get to the point where the moment I wake up in the morning before I open my eyes, it's going through my mind. So it becomes the first thing that I am implanting in for my day. So I'm unstoppable. There's an energy to being unstoppable. And the unstoppable energy comes from facing hardship and moving through it, right? Like facing it head on, going, not so much come at me. It's just like, it's rock solid. I've got this. Like I've got this. Just, just keep going. And the I'm a magnet for success is a business affirmation, like just why not? Like if I can create anything I want, why not? But I am limitless possibility is very specifically chosen by me to remind myself that I'm limitless when I'm connected. When I'm truly connected, like nothing is impossible. All things are possible. And I love the fact that I've been able to train my mind to now, that's the first thing it thinks when I wake up every day.
Love it. And take some of that on. I value that. And it's true. We are unstoppable. My favorite thing is that I'm the master creator of my life. And my mantra is that not in my world. I don't know what's happening outside these walls, this house, or anything like that, unless it affects me at a visceral level that I need to be aware of it. But stuff like that doesn't happen in my world because I don't allow it to impact the vessel that I've created.
Beautiful.
And how can listeners connect with you and learn from you? If someone wants to get in touch, how do we find you?
Oh, you find me on Facebook. It's just look me up, Melinda Warnecke. I'm also on Instagram, same first name, surname. I run, as you know, a couple of different programs. They've evolved a little bit, as I'm sure you can imagine, Shaz, after this past 12 months of mine. And so I do a lot of work with wealth activation and wealth frequency. One of the biggest things that I came away from my summit with was how systemic the problem is on scarcity. Like I shared with you at the beginning of our conversation, my memory of beliefs from when I was young was that goddamn plate being handed around the church and looking at all of this money, and we couldn't contribute, but we also didn't have it. So it's a big mission for me to help women heal from that. When I believe when women particularly, and I'm just going to go on a rant for a moment, when women allow themselves to heal the feminine wound of disappointment, then they can have full abundance.
I love that. I love your boot camps. You've got one scheduled soon?
I do. I've got a money one coming up in February. So it's a money healing activation 2-day event. And you've been to that before. It's usually pretty powerful.
Honestly tell you, if you need healing on your money story, this is the place to go. It changed my life on so many levels. And I'm probably going to do this one again. I've just got to check the dates on it. But I do love your boot camps. Melinda over-delivers. You learn so much. You break through so much. And the activations are phenomenal. So if you do have problems with your money story and scarcity mindset and need to heal these aspects, this is a great avenue for you to check into it. So thank you very, very much for joining me. I have loved this time that we spent together and all your vulnerability. I know my side of your story from what I've heard before, and I've discovered so much more today. So I love that you're ever evolving, and it's a pleasure to have you in my life. I value our friendship and connection above so many things because I learn from you each and every time I connect. So thank you very, very much for that. The story you shared about Mount Kilimanjaro and how to overcome that, connect to your body and know that it has to come from within, that I get full body tingles thinking of it because it is the core message that I give people. Everything you need to know is inside of you. It's not outside. Nobody gives us permission. Nobody lets us do it. We're the conquerors. We're unstoppable. As you said, you make it happen and you have to show up, stand up and become who you need to be the master of your destiny. So we would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Thank you once again, Melinda. And do you have a special offer or something that they can download to connect with you that I can offer the audience for later?
Yes, certainly. I have a wealth frequency assessment that I'd love to share the link with you for. So what that is it's like a quiz and you go through certain questions and ratings, and then it will give you where you sit on the wealth frequency assessment scale. Plus, it'll actually then, through it, will then give you some tools and ideas that you could focus on when it comes to shifting your frequency when it comes to wealth attraction. I think that would be a really beautiful gift to give. It's it's really powerful. When you know what you need to focus on, then you can actually break through. When you don't know, you're stuck in a whirlpool going around and around and around.
And that's the thing, the problem with a lot of people is they don't know what to focus on or where to put that energy. So thank you for that. I will put all the links below. Please like, subscribe, and follow us. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you so much, Shaz.
Thanks for listening to the Spiritual Awakening with Shaz podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe down below so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow us on Facebook with the links below. Until next time, trust your intuition and let your spirit soar.